Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's pick a card reading is all about your next relationship. There are 3 piles for you to choose from. From left to right, we have pile 1, 2, and then 3. If you feel drawn to more than one pile, there may be messages for you in both. You'll find the timestamps in the description below. Take your time, and when you're ready, jump into your reading. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. Let's get right into it. The emotional energy around this next relationship begins in solitude. You or this person, maybe even both, are coming out of a space where emotional connection has been intentionally avoided. Not in a bitter or jaded way, but more in a way that says, I need to reconnect with myself first. This is a season of pulling back from shallow or draining dynamics, choosing inner peace over romantic chaos. So when this connection comes in, it's not arriving in the midst of noise. It comes through the quiet, after something has been surrendered or released. This feels like the type of bond that begins when the heart is just starting to soften again. It may not be loud or dramatic at first. There's emotional maturity forming here because whoever this person is, they've done some soul searching. They've learned what doesn't work, and they've likely walked away from something that required them to emotionally recalibrate. So this connection begins slowly, in stillness. It's like the shoreline after a storm, peaceful, but aware of what just passed through. What's important is that the foundation is emotional clarity, not intensity. That doesn't mean it's boring, it just means this relationship comes in without the mess. It's not coming from longing or desperation, but from readiness. A space that says, now I know what I want, and I know what I don't. That clarity sets the tone for everything that follows. The pace at first is slow, hesitant even. This person may hold back in communication or seem unsure how to fully express what they're feeling. There could be some internal conflict here, a tug-of-war between wanting to move forward and fearing what might happen if they say too much too fast. You might even feel a bit of impatience in the beginning, like you're waiting for them to finally just say it, but they're not stalling out of disinterest, they're stalling because they don't want to mess this up. This reversal also signals that communication might be inconsistent early on. There could be some starts and stops, or even situations where one of you is waiting for a message or a sign or something more direct. But again, this doesn't feel like game playing. It feels like emotional protection. This person has likely learned to think twice before they speak. They're not careless with their words, which can be frustrating in the short term, but it makes their eventual clarity that much more meaningful. So don't mistake delay for disinterest. They're being careful, maybe too careful at first, but once their mind is clear and their emotional fear starts to drop away, you'll notice the shift. The energy picks up, and that's when you'll see who they really are. And here's the shift. Once this connection gets its footing, the pace changes fast. The chariot brings in movement, confidence, and intentional direction. So after that initial hesitation, they step into this relationship like they mean it. There's no more holding back, no more unclear signals. This person knows what they want, and when they feel safe with you, they'll begin moving toward it without apology. This relationship has purpose. It's not just emotional, it's driven. This person may have strong goals in their life or a clear sense of where they're headed, and they'll start factoring you into that vision quickly once they feel you're aligned. That doesn't mean rushing, but it does mean you won't be left guessing. There's forward movement here, not in theory, but in action. Things start clicking into place, plans get made, and the relationship becomes grounded in momentum. You may even notice that this person's energy feels very all or nothing. They either hold back until they're sure, or once they're sure, they're all in. There's not a lot of middle ground with them, and once they've chosen you, it's with full intention, not out of need, but out of confidence. There's also deep emotional healing that unfolds through this relationship. Both of you have experienced moments in the past where you've felt abandoned, unsupported, or misunderstood, and this connection becomes a safe space to rewrite that pattern. It's not dramatic healing either. It's subtle, slow, and grounding. It's in the way that they show up, the way you don't have to explain yourself, and the way you're no longer left waiting in the cold. This person may not always be the most expressive emotionally, especially at first, but they express their care through consistency, through presence, through making sure you don't feel like you're doing everything alone. And for someone who's used to being the one to hold it all together, that kind of support is wonderful. you'll notice the shift most in how safe it starts to feel to rely on someone again. There's a rebuilding of trust here, not just in love, but in connection. The more time you spend with this person, the more you realize, I'm not carrying this alone. That mutual care becomes the quiet, steady pulse of the relationship. What's interesting here is the passion builds more slowly than expected. This isn't instant chemistry or that love at first sight intensity. The attraction is real, but it grows with trust. There may even be delays in physical or romantic connection, not because it's lacking, but because neither of you wants to rush something that feels meaningful. There's emotional safety being prioritized first. This card also points to past burnout, maybe from chasing sparks that fizzled out quickly. So you or this person might be hesitant to let the desire lead the way. You want something sustainable now, not something flashy that disappears in the morning. The slow burn here is part of what makes it so powerful. By the time passion fully ignites, the emotional foundation is already solid. So while this might not begin with overwhelming intensity, that doesn't mean the fire won't come. It just means that when it does, it'll be something you can trust, not something you have to question. And finally, we have someone who knows how to lead, not by controlling, but by grounding. This person is likely well established in at least one area of their life. They might have a strong career ambition, a structured routine, or a clear sense of responsibility. Their energy is protective, not possessive. They show up with intention, and they're not afraid to take on the role of a true partner. This is someone who values stability, emotionally, financially, and in their relationships. They're not here to experiment or entertain drama. When they commit, it's because they've thought it through. They're not impulsive, but once they commit, they're solid. This could be someone older than you, or at least emotionally mature in a way that brings calm and consistency into your life. There's a deep message here about security. This next relationship is meant to provide a safe place, not just for love, but for expansion. This person doesn't limit you. They support your growth, and in turn, they'll need a partner who meets them at that level, someone they can trust to show up fully, just like they do. So who is your next relationship with? It's someone who's grounded, healing, and intentional. Someone who won't rush in with promises, but who'll prove their value over time. This will happen after a quiet season, after something softens. And how it happens, it'll be slow, hesitant, and then all at once, with a kind of strength you've never felt quite like this before. So that's what I'm getting for pile 1. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello, pile 2. Welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. This next relationship begins with a massive shift in perception. Something is clicking internally before anything even takes place externally. You're stepping into a period of heightened awareness, seeing things more clearly, noticing patterns you used to miss, and finally understanding the why behind some of your past relationship experiences. This connection starts from the awareness. It's not about chasing a person, it's about becoming aligned enough to recognize them when they appear. You're being guided to look inward before looking outward, and that change in perspective is what attracts this next dynamic. There's also a spiritual undertone to this connection. You may start noticing synchronicities before the relationship begins, repeated numbers, symbols, or even dreams that seem to point towards someone or something meaningful. You're being tuned in, and when this person enters your life, it won't feel random. There's an energetic recognition, like you've both been circling the same lessons and are finally on the same frequency. And that frequency, it's clearer now because you've been doing the inner work. So this isn't a case of love falling out of nowhere. It's conscious and intentional. You're awake for it. And because of that, it lands differently than anything before. There's no chasing, no confusion, just a deep sense of knowing. Now, don't expect this relationship to come in quickly. The energy is delayed. Not blocked, just slowed. This might mean that there are travel issues, poor timing at first, or even a few false starts. Communication could be off early on, or you might meet them and then experience a pause before things move forward again. But this slow arrival serves a purpose. It gives you time to check in with yourself, to be sure, to ground, and to stay in that awareness. There's a reminder here not to panic during the delay. Just because it isn't arriving on your timeline doesn't mean it's not coming. The universe is adjusting things in the background, shifting schedules, closing chapters, making space. And when this relationship does pick up, it moves in waves, slow, then sudden. But it has to start with that stall so that both of you enter the dynamic clean, not carrying chaos from the past. This reversal also speaks to energetic mismatches being cleared out. People or situations that were lingering but not aligned are moving out of your orbit. That's part of the slowness too. Space is being made for the right energy to take its place. This connection is worth the wait. It's rooted in patience, in progress you might not even realize you're making yet. You or this person may have been focusing on personal goals, career, healing, self-growth, and not actively looking for love. But in doing that inner cultivation, you've actually created the perfect soil for a healthy relationship to grow. This is the kind of connection that builds quietly and then anchors deeply. There's no rush energy here, no urgency to define everything in the first week. Instead, there's a calm investment. You'll both be approaching this with care, tending it to like something precious, not something disposable. It may even take a while for one or both of you to recognize the potential, because it doesn't come with a dramatic spark, it comes with steadiness. This relationship unfolds like a garden. You plant the seed, nurture it, and trust it to grow. So when, after you've put in the time, not in chasing love, but in becoming the version of yourself that knows exactly how to hold it when it arrives. There's expansion coming. This person might be from a different background, live in another city, or arrive during a phase of your life when you're thinking bigger about travel, about career, or about purpose. You may not be looking for love when they arrive, because you'll be focused on building something for yourself. And that's what draws them in, your momentum. They recognize the direction you're moving in and want to grow alongside you. There's also a long-distance energy here, either literal distance, where you're not physically close at first, or emotional distance that needs to be bridged over time. But the beauty of this connection is that both of you want to close that gap. This isn't a one-sided effort. There's mutual vision here, mutual interest, and mutual respect. So how does it start? With distance. But that distance isn't a wall. It's a bridge waiting to be crossed. And once it is, the view on the other side is worth everything it took to get there. There's something karmic being rebalanced here. This relationship doesn't arrive in a vacuum. It comes after a period where things felt unfair. You may have given more than you received in past dynamics, or felt like the timing, effort, and energy were always off. This person brings a balancing of that scale, not perfectly, but intentionally. They're not here to fix the past, but their presence brings clarity about what was never yours to carry in the first place. There may also be some challenges early on, delays in commitment, miscommunications, or old fears surfacing, and that's okay. This card reverse says you're being shown where your boundaries need to be clearer, where your expectations deserve to be voiced, and where balance must be created in real time, not assumed. This is the kind of connection that teaches fairness by example. You'll know what mutuality feels like, not because it's perfect, but because you finally stop tolerating what isn't. The more honest you are about what you need, the more this connection will rise to meet you. And here it is, the shift. When it lands fast. There's a sense of destiny here, like the universe has been slowly but surely turning things in your favor, and finally the pieces align. This person may enter your life unexpectedly, and things begin to accelerate. Not because they're rushing, but because the timing is right. This relationship marks a turning point. You've been doing the work, learning the lessons, and now the wheel turns. Not randomly, but because you're ready to receive a different experience. It might feel like fate, like I wasn't looking for this, but it found me anyway. And it sticks, because what's meant to move with you will move in rhythm, not in resistance. So how will you know? Because the door is open, the timing lines up, things that once felt blocked suddenly flow, and you'll feel that quiet sense of rightness, not in your head, but in your bones. So who's your next relationship with? It's someone aligned, intentional, and unexpectedly transformative. When this happens, it'll happen after a period of delays, of growth, of inward focus. And how does it happen? Not all at once, but in divine timing, because what's meant to align will. So that's what I'm getting for pile 3. If this resonated with you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello, pile 3. Welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. There's a strong transitional energy around this connection. You or this person are in the process of truly walking away from something, not just physically, but emotionally and energetically. What's leaving isn't just another relationship or life phase, it's a version of yourself that no longer fits. And this next relationship doesn't arrive until that closure is in motion. It doesn't mean that you need to be healed in the perfect sense, but there's movement, away from pain and towards peace. And that movement creates the opening. This relationship doesn't come in when you're looking back. It comes in the moment you decide you're done with the loop, done with the patterns, and done with waiting for someone or something to meet you halfway. There's something incredibly empowering about the way that this next person arrives. They don't find you in heartbreak, they find you in freedom, and that sets the entire tone. You're not entering this from desperation, you're entering it because you finally made space. And as you move forward, there's a lightness that starts to return, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're ready for something that feels different. You're no longer trying to recreate the past or fix it, you're ready to begin again from a clean emotional state. This card confirms that there's already been a collapse, or something is on the verge of fully releasing. But reversed, the Tower says this isn't chaos anymore. The worst of it is behind you. What remains is the emotional aftershock, the process of putting pieces back together, but now with intention. You or this person have already been through your Tower moment, and this next relationship won't trigger one. It'll help you rebuild in a way that finally feels safe. There may still be moments of fear around letting your guard down, and that's okay. The energy coming in is gentle, not explosive. This person isn't here to tear you open. They're here to remind you that not every connection has to hurt to be real. That's part of the healing, recognizing that love can be grounded, stable, even quiet, and still be deeply transformative. This reversal also speaks to the relationship being born out of what was lost. It's not about replacing the past. It's about making peace with it, and in doing so, making room for a love that actually fits who you're becoming, not who you used to be. There's a breaking free happening here, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. In the past, you may have felt stuck in patterns or beliefs about what love had to look like. Maybe you were told love meant a struggle, or that you had to earn affection. Maybe you convinced yourself that certain kinds of love were out of reach. But now, those bindings are coming off, there's clarity forming, and with that clarity comes choice. You're no longer waiting to be chosen, you're choosing yourself, and that changes everything. It allows you to enter the next relationship not from a place of fear, but from truth. The fog clears, the self-doubt dissolves. You stop needing proof that you're worthy of real connection, because something in you finally accepts it. For this next person, this energy may show up as them also shedding old limiting stories. They've been stuck in their own head too, and meeting you is part of their release. Together, you both begin to rewrite what connection can look like. It's a mutual liberation. Emotionally, this connection doesn't start with grand gestures or overt confessions. It begins awkwardly, maybe even tentatively. There could be a slight emotional immaturity or guardedness here at the start. Not because there's no depth, but because there's caution. You or this person might struggle to express feelings openly at first. It's like the heart is waking up after a long nap, unsure, tender, but curious. There's vulnerability in this connection, especially early on. Someone might be hesitant to trust what they're feeling or worry that opening up will lead to disappointment. That's not a red flag, that's emotional healing in progress. You'll notice the care on which both of you try to speak honestly without scaring the other off, and that's a beautiful thing. As the relationship develops, emotional expressions becomes easier. There's a softening that happens as the connection builds. The love here is gentle, but it grows deeper the more you both give yourself permission to be seen. This is the heart of it. The next relationship you're stepping into is mutual, equal, and soul deep. You'll feel it in the ways things flow. Not effortlessly, but harmoniously. There's balance in this connection, shared values, emotional understanding, and a desire to build something real together. It won't feel like you're chasing or settling. It will feel like meeting, a meeting of hearts, of minds, and of emotional capacity. This isn't a situationship, this isn't confusion, this is reciprocity. Someone who looks at you and says, I see you, I choose you, and I want to do this with you. The connection might start quietly, but once it's established, it deepens fast. You'll both feel the alignment, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And in that mutuality, you'll both find healing. You'll stop questioning if you're too much or not enough. You'll stop wondering if you have to chase love to keep it. You'll just know, because the other person will show up consistently, willingly, and wholeheartedly. And here's where it gets even more solid. This is a relationship with future potential, not just emotionally, but practically. This card brings in grounded beginnings, tangible growth, and real investment. The connection may start quietly, but it becomes something you can build a life around. This could involve shared resources, long-term planning, or simply a shared desire for something stable and enduring. This isn't fantasy love. This is love you can build with. There's a sense of growing roots here. Both of you are ready to plant something real, and while it may not be fast-paced, it's purposeful. The kind of relationship where you don't just talk about the future, you create it. This is the moment where the emotional and the material align. Love meets support, passion meets purpose. You meet someone who doesn't just inspire your heart, they walk beside you towards something real. So who is your next relationship with? It's someone who sees your value, meets you in healing, and builds with you in truth. When you'll meet this person? After the dust has settled, when the past no longer has a hold. And how will you meet this person? Through soft starts, steady growth, and a love that finally feels safe to believe in. That's what I'm getting for pile 3. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time.